episode 38 of Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. Coming back with a whole lot of stuff that's happened actually this past week.
38?
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Boy. And it's
Lots of things.
Yeah, lots of things.
Yes. It's Anzac Day here, right?
Yeah,
That
we
we're
have
celebrating.
we
It's
have an
public
extended
holiday.
weekend sort of this week. Well, in Australia at least.
Least we forget.
But it don't stop.
The
It
news
don't stop.
The news keeps rolling. Alrighty, so
All right, let's get to it.
all right, so we'll be touching on some topics actually that has been covered over previous episodes, and actually we'll begin again touching on the particular debate about social media's role in terms of what happened with the Sydney stabbing tragedies recently.
Yeah, look, this is a really interesting one, and we talked last week pertaining to obviously the stabbings, right? And since then, what's really escalated is a real big debate between the Australian government and Elon Musk. Surprise, surprise. So let's break down quickly what's happening here. The Australian government and the E-Safety Commissioner have ordered X to remove videos depicting the stabbing of Bishop Mari Mari globally, to which Elon Musk has said no. So what he's doing is he's obviously geo-blocking it in Australia, but he's refusing to have it removed completely globally. And now he's actually challenging the ruling in federal court that the E-Safety Commission is doing. So this has caused massive uproar in the Australian government. He's actually seen our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, go on TV and label Elon Musk arrogant. Jackie Lambie has gone further than that. She's actually saying that Elon Musk should be put in jail. It's taken out of context. I'm not going to sensationalize something, but she literally has said the word. She has actually said that she's going to quit Twitter or X, which is not a big deal, but I actually saw on Anthony Albanese's timeline that he's planning to do the same thing too. So this is taken a life on its own, right? So the question I ask you both, freedom of speech or sensible censorship? Like, this is in essence the debate that we're having here. What are our initial thoughts? And I want to highlight one element specifically, which I think is very interesting. The stabbing footage, because if we recall that we're talking about here is specifically pertaining to Bishop Mari Mari, not the Bondi Junction stabbing, which is interesting if you think about it, but makes sense because of the politically fueled nature of the second one, right? Because some of the video that was actually circulating about the Bondi one was highly graphic too, if you think about it, right?
And there was a lot of there was some commentary where people, general public, are appealing to everyone else on the platform to say, don't share the videos because of how graphic it is and out of respect.
Not what we're going to talk about specifically, but I think just interesting to note in this whole debate, right? But what are our initial thoughts?
Well, yeah. So as you were saying, it's obviously this has a bit more profile to it, but that same sentiment, like the angle is right that these people that were putting out there is, it's just, if it's a live situation, out of respect for the families, we don't want to feed into the media, because many times there's been other tragedies that have happened prior to it. I was actually listening to a podcast earlier today where they were the public group, they were asking these people who are the family members of previous victims that were part of all these tragedies. It's like, how does the media impact and interact with them at that point of time? It's the humanity side of things, right? And this is going to be a double-edged sword, because people want to know or feel like they have the right to know what is happening at any given point in time because of the proliferation of media, right? And we've seen it time and time again where you've got, in a live situation, the first interaction that everyone, the immediate thought that everyone does is to take their phone out and record, right? That's all they ever do, right? Which there's different motivations to that, whether they want to share the news, they want to, be on the ground and share the full proof of what's going on, right? There's that aspect that I can understand. The other aspect that I'm putting forth here is just,
what's your view specifically pertaining to, does the Australian government, is there validity in their claim that it should be taken down? Because I think essentially...
Well, okay, hold on. Why are they asking for it to be taken down again? I can guess why. But I guess answering that question, yeah.
because this is the main bit, right? Like I think if you run it, okay. So why they're saying it? They're saying that basically it can cause harm to society, right? Now it can cause harm to society, right? Specifically citing younger people, it's distressing. They don't want it to incite violence, and I think this is why it's very specific to Bishop Mari Mari. We know why. This is a religious overtone, right? They're not talked about the Bondi stuff, right? They're talking about the Bishop Mari Mari specifically.
It's two separate.
But there's
things,
stabbings, right? And it's just as so. If you're saying,
Yeah, okay, I get you.
If you are saying, hold up, this is graphic, dude. The guy, we heard and we saw some videos before they were taken down of blood spluttering.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more graphic than that. Okay, so they're saying that the graphic nature of these occurrences can incite violence and destabilize a society, right? Or can add elements to that. So. Yes, the answer is yes. Like there's an element of that's fair, but and this is where freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech, right? So the definition of freedom of speech is the right to articulate opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, and legal sanction. So this is exactly what the government is saying, right? So just to break it down, there is no right or wrong answer because I've gone mentally around this rabbit hole, just understanding what do I feel my position is. But to articulate it here, the government is saying in Australia, or they're not saying in Australia, they're saying in the world, we want this off your platform. And Elon Musk is saying, how about no? Like I will geo-block it in your region, but I'm not going to geo-block in the world because by doing so, I'm allowing a single government to exercise the power of blocking it there. Fully understanding, and he's not an idiot. I'm not pro Musk in this. I'm pro Musk as a concept, but I'm not pro Musk here. I'm just laying out the facts here, right? And this has gone to a political football back and forth.
Well, arguably, based on that, right? There's a couple of this is not the first instance of this happening, and obviously we're going to talk about it a bit more down the track, right? Yeah. Because there's parallels here where it's. He has a point.
Yeah,
he has a point.
It's not clean cut, right?
Yeah,
and I think when we try and cut through the noise, look, I was looking at Albanese's tweets and stuff like that, right? His engagement has tenfolded globally since he's talked about Elon Musk. So they're not silly. Any publicity.
It's all about the engagement, right?
But what I mean is no one cares about Albanese, no one cares about Jackie Lambert in isolation, right? But once they start attacking Elon, calling him an idiot and an arrogant prick, which by the way he is, there's no need to deny that, right? But if we no, there is it's in his biography and that, and here is also the different ideologies between countries and that, right? Because in America, freedom of speech is a holy grail topic, right? Like the basis of which that country has been founded on is the democratic right to have freedom of speech. Not saying that it isn't the case in Australia, but it is really just a hammering topic that they go hammer and tongue there. Freedom of speech, right? I have the ability to marry who I want to, all of those elements there, right?
Well, doesn't everyone have the ability?
So, but what I'm saying is, as a media thing, it's huge there. Then it permeates the Western media sphere, right? But just to put it there, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, it was seen as a mistake by a lot of his close business confidants, right? And he's losing money on it, right? So if he's challenging something in court, I think what we've got to understand is it is not a sound business thing at all to challenge a country and their legal system in court. So to get it down specifically, if he's doing so, it's because he fundamentally, morally feels that he is the arbiter and Twitter or X is the arbiter of free speech. But the other element is what the Australian government is saying, free speech or not free speech, this is causing duress and distress in our environment. Please take it off.
If that's the reason why they're asking for it, right?
Well,
this is the question I'm asking, right? Because it's all my bit about it, I feel, is yes, it's distressing, but it's happened.
Yep.
we are live in a society now where we have access to that all the time, and we're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it in Israel, Palestine, where social media is at the front of actually what is happening, and it is giving an unfiltered view of how these events are occurring. Because what previous to now, what do we have? We had textbooks, we had some photos, we had
Newspapers.
we had newspapers, depending on if people were able to make it on the ground with the cameramen and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Like I was saying, it's everyone's now got the ability to just do this, right?
To create content,
To create content and to share that. If they're asking because it's bringing distress to people and whatnot, that's one reason, right? Like, as in, yeah. But other than that, it's kind of that. I'm sorry, the moniker is kind of like, well, if it's on the internet, it's just there now,
So-
right?
Yeah.
Before I give like my conclusive view, because I know we've got a time limit, Kat, what is your view on it?
It is very complex
Yeah,
across
it is very
both
complex.
grounds, because I can see the stance that if you permit, like for example, the Australian government in here to allow their influence to take down a particular thing, then like where does that draw the line
Yeah.
then for like other bodies of power to take down particular things? But then at the same time, it's like it is a violent video, like it is very touchy and distressing in terms of that it has recently happened here, and touched a nerve for the entire of Sydney. But then, yeah, it's similar to the whole, like, it is on the internet. You can always try to mute it. Like, there are functions to try to take away those particular materials to somewhat make it safer for your experience on the internet. Yeah, it's very, it's a bit of an odd sort of situation.
Geo blocking aside, right?
Yeah.
I think
If they're like, that's one measure where it's like he is like, I would assume Musk is just coming to a compromise.
He could have said, "I'm not going to do it." Period.
but
He geo-blocked it.
but
I think it's fair.
the other aspect of this is like, especially with the community that were impacted by that, right? They screenshots would have happened already.
It's already
They would
out.
have had like the proliferation of it. It's of their what's the word I'm looking for? It's of their agenda if they engage with it, either rally behind it or whatever. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's just like, it's what does
I've got a perfect analogy for this, right?
Yeah, you go.
So that just because of the time constraints, right? But there's two elements that this particular scenario is highlighting, right? Which I saw on a YouTube video by the news, and I thought it was perfect articulation. One is, this is not only happening in Australia, and we'll talk about the Senate thing. This is exactly the same concept.
That's why I'm finding it hard to talk about this without getting into that.
There is a broad resolve from the political parties against big tech. You're seeing
It's
this across
happening.
the board,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And censorship specifically. So that's number one. And we're going to talk about it in the US. Also, the other bit is the practical limits of actually enforcing such a thing if you can. Because you're right. Once things are out on the internet, there's no take backsies. Once I see something, there is no take backsies. And just to wrap it up, once the world and society, once you and I, we downloaded Twitter, we downloaded X, once we downloaded YouTube, once society did so and ingrained it in their lives so much to the point where we can't live without it, TikTok is included, we opened a Pandora's box. That's what happened. And we can't close this box, unfortunately.
Unless we went-
It is very hard to close the box,
Back to
right?
what? Offline.
So,
Yeah.
and that's not going to happen. So that's just not going to happen with AI and all that. That's not going to happen. So just to turn this off, remember back in the day when movies had ratings?
They still do have ratings.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But that would not stop me from going to the cinema to watch R16 or R18 movies when I was not there. So the analogy is...
Well, the
Yes, and that is the... Like, if you want to use that analogy there,
but that's
right?
different. That's
Hold
like,
up, hold up.
no.
The point is, there is a level of... Okay, maybe a better analogy. Maybe a better analogy. Back in the day, if you have a kid, you can decide how you want them to experience the world.
There we
right?
go. There we
you
go.
can say, you know what? I'm going to let you get bullied, just as an extreme example, I'm going to let you experience it without any filter because this is the real world that you live in. Or I'm going to apply a filter. I am going to come and fight that battle for you. And the reality...
helicopter parenting,
and
coddling,
The reality is it's going to be a combination of both, unless you feel really strongly towards one way, right? And this is the debate that we're having here. And unfortunately, with these stabbings, there's a political football that is being kicked back and forth. And we're going to the Elon Musk and the tech bros and Anthony Albanese, blah, 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 blah here. But it is fundamentally highlighting an element where people distrust the government as a whole. So do you think that they want the government to censor things as a whole? I can tell you no, they don't. And if you decide to pick the extreme towards those two elements, no, I don't want to get all my media through Murdoch media. I don't. So yes, it might be graphic. Yes, it might be thing. But if we agree that this is the standard there, and in the end of the day, the freedom of choice is on the individual, you want to watch someone get gutted, that's your prerogative. Just like it's your prerogative to watch whatever you want in your home, and you have to deal with the after effects of it because that is life.
And obviously, this is where it gets a bit philosophical. I know we're at times.
It is philosophical.
But it's that idea of like, but does the impact of watching something like that incite an action that you actually don't want in society?
Definitely can.
Like, that's like...
It definitely can. And the only thing is the government the right arbiter to decide that? And this is in essence the debate. Anyway, we could have gone much longer there.
Choose the right thing.
The choice is yours. If you want to watch it, you will watch it. You will seek it. If people want to watch it, they will seek content. And if they don't, you only have to Google the part. Like there's so many reactions to Mari stabbing, and it's doing massive views. So people will find this content, whether you geo-block it or Korea-block it or whatever. So, like, what do you do? So you try, like, the fight is not against Elon. The fight is, okay, people are not going to say no to these social media platforms. They're just not.
Yeah.
Whether you like, who cares, Anthony Albanese, if you're not on it? No one cares, generally. Jackie, who? Like, no one cares. They just don't. But you can use the same platform to spread good things. You can use the same platform to, like, initiate good vibes and stuff like that. I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Or
right?
other breaking news.
That you're going to lose because people, they can say whatever they want. They're not going to stop it. Or you can use the same platform which people are spreading information.
And in the same way that, same way that people say like, oh, you're being a sheep, you're following like this and that, whatever. You actually have an active choice as well to have an informed opinion, to,
find your own sort of information, how and going about it in your way.
Yeah. It's tough. It's definitely tough. But I think there's a lot of political football. Anyway, we've spent too much time.
All right, no worries. It's a heavy topic. It's a big topic. Alrighty, let's pivot to music actually. And like, just a quick question, guys. Did you know it's been Coachella for the past 2 weekends?
Yes, I have been partaking in Coachella.
All right.
Because there was some ever since they started streaming it on YouTube, it's kind of been, it coincides with Easter. It's a great time. You get to see some of your favorite acts if they are on the channels that have been selected and whatnot. So yeah, I did partake, but you know what? I've got to say the vibe of it wasn't as strong as previous years.
I mean, I'll start off with I certainly forgot that it was happening because usually it coincides with Easter weekend, but Easter just happened to be earlier
for
this
us,
year.
by the way, Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and to be correct, right? For
those celebrating
for Christians,
Easter,
Roman Catholics, because Orthodox has just happened as well, right?
Yes,
but it happens a couple of weeks afterwards.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
yep.
Yes. So those folds of Christianity. So that's why, like, I totally forgot during the first weekend. I was like, oh, it's happening. But I believe there are other factors for why it felt a bit weaker this year.
So a couple of things before we jump into what happened this year. Did you know that Coachella has been running since 1999?
Wow.
I do now.
Wow.
It's been a
So
while.
It's 25 years.
Yeah, and it's just I guess from where it was back then, obviously, not many people having access to it. And I remember it becoming a huge thing when I was in high school.
It was massive pop culture.
2000s.
Yeah. And like, and you know, that was an aspiration of mine. It's like, oh, one day I'm going to go to Coachella. No way.
Hey, never say never.
Not anymore. Not now. Especially with the way music is going now.
But the YouTube stuff is good. Like, as soon as
YouTube
they
stuff-
opened it up, I think that
When they're opening up and being able to like stream that stuff, that's been great.
yeah.
However, this year, so very quickly before we get into it, the lineup included acts such as Lana Del Rey, Tyler the Creator, Doja Cat, No Doubt, Reunion, Blur was there, and then some other favorites of up and coming artists that I've heard of. But what happened with YouTube is people were there was a lot of conjecture and a lot of backlash about the audio this year. So the
Oh, it was
quality of it,
horrendous.
Oh, no.
the quality of it wasn't great, and overall as a whole, I guess many people are feeling the same way that Kat you felt about it, because ticket sales have been considered the slowest in the decade for this past decade of the festival. Because, you know, again, line up. If we're talking about those acts, and don't get me wrong, right? I don't like to yuck people's yums, right? I don't like to poo-poo on it, right? But it's just that thing of Coachella is so broad,
Yep.
right? If we're looking like it's
You mean
catering
in the
to
music the genre
yeah,
spectrum?
it's catering to the different audiences. Like, it's a lot of money to fork out, right? You think of the last time you've gone to a festival of some kind, and it's like there's got to be a reason why you went there to see the majority of the acts. You're thinking you're bang for your buck, right?
Yeah.
And it's a long ass day too.
But the prices have remained relatively consistent, right? Like, it's not like the prices increased or something, right?
oh well, it depends if you're going to do like a 1 day or a 3 day.
Yeah, but
right?
are they in the same?
Because you know your
they're around
Fridays.
the 400, 500, or 1,000 for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because because you got to factor for your accommodation as well, right?
Yeah.
You got to do travel to get there.
So
Your Fridays, you're going to be it's technically your weaker day out of the 3 if you're doing the full weekend.
Yep.
And then Saturday, Sunday, it all kind of builds up from there. Okay.
I was just gonna chime in that allegedly, comparing ticket prices from 2020 to 2023, it is $377 more expensive.
But that makes like you'd
But-
expect it to increase, yeah.
Plus
Inflation.
inflation. We
yeah,
went
so
through
that's
a
fine.
pandemic.
I mean, ish, kind of.
Yeah.
What are we attributing it down to? Because you're right. When we were watching it, last year seemed a bit more. But look, like I think the best years were like, it's the acts. Surely we agree that it's the
Yes.
how weak this
Long,
act set was,
long
right?
gone are the days of like Coachella when it was Childish Gambino or
I think the
Yeah, there's
Gambino one
big
and
pools.
the Beyonce one were the last two real like.
The weekend wasn't that bad
I
as
think it was
well.
horrendous, to be honest. But I'm not a weekend fan. I think the weekend's like live act game is not the strongest personally. But as an artist, he's like obviously huge. So okay, hold up. So my question to you guys is, do you think back in the day, like there was was it the 90s that like just Coachella as like a buzzword?
Or early 2000s.
Early 2000s, right? So around that time, late 90s, early 2000s, right? Everyone wanted to be in Coachella. And I think that permeated to the artists. Every artist wanted to be at Coachella. But we were talking, and did you say, apart from the big acts, do the middle acts get paid? It's not something that you do to make a lot of money, right?
So the
marketing
so the
exercise.
lower acts, the smaller ones in the poster, they get allegedly 10,000 for their appearance, and then when you get up to the mid tier, then there's a bit more wiggle room.
Yeah, okay.
But obviously your big what you call it
the headlines,
the
right?
headliners
The
that
headlines of
should
the
in
nights,
theory
yeah.
pull the audience. That is, you know,
that's where they cash in.
yeah, they're the ones that get up to the millions.
Okay, so we agree though that like if let's just say, I mean, it made sense, but like if Beyonce was headlining this year, would it have pulled more? Definitely more than
Yeah,
now.
would
have. Absolutely.
But,
Yeah.
but a lot more. Yeah, no. So are we attributing it 100% to like how weak the act set was, or it's a hard one, right?
Yes.
It's a hard one.
Cost of living. Sorry,
Inflation at the moment,
It took me
yeah.
a while to get there. The cost of living is at
It
a,
has come at a very a hard economic time for I imagine a lot of the people who usually go to this festival. But I guess in a way there is a bit of combination with the artists, because for me, from my perspective especially, like the only one main artist I like saw videos from was intrigued to see was like Sabrina Carpenter.
yeah.
And so in
She
that
was pretty good actually. I wonder
Yeah.
why she's not. Yeah, she's actually not she wasn't the headline. She was like on the second line.
yeah.
I mean, the organizers would know, but like I think I'm having a vibe that like when Coachella was popping, artists really wanted to be there. They would go out of there because it's a good, like, if you're like just on the cusp, it was a good PR stunt, right? And when you have, to me, those individuals that are going to spend that money in Coachella are like Gen Z now, Gen Y back then, right? Like that younger sort of demographic, right? And in the middle, obviously, not discriminating. But the proposition of value is two things in a music festival that demands that much money. One is your top end acts, like the big acts, but the breadth of those tier 2, tier 3, whatever you want to call it,
the
right?
supporting,
the
yeah.
support acts, because predominantly you're going to watch more of that than the icing on the cake, which is your Beyonce, your Gambino.
Like how are you going to compete with everyone to get up front? Like you literally have to be
right?
staying there the whole damn day.
And I think that like this year, if anything, I have a hypothesis that the cost of living element is actually more on that mid tier of artists that didn't support the top tier, if that made sense. That being said, in my view, but like I don't listen to that sort of music. If you're having Doja Cat and Lana Del Rey as your top acts,
this is
like power rankings.
That's the thing. And again, I don't like yucking people's yums, right?
What do you mean?
We're gonna create a shirt for that.
So I watched Doja Cat's set the second weekend. A bit of multitasking with work and whatnot.
Here we go.
But personally, I don't. Other than Paint the Town Red, I've not heard any of her latest album.
Yeah.
Her previous album, I
Planet
love
Her.
that
Yeah,
album,
yeah.
and her set last year,
Yeah.
was great.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the same thing with Lana Del Rey, where it's like, look, I personally didn't listen to Lana Del Rey when she was like big of the time. I love Summertime Sadness, like, but that's the only thing that I know of.
Everyone loves Summertime
Other people love it, like AKA Kev, for different reasons, because she's pretty and whatnot. But it's just.
But usually the headline artist.
There's no oomph.
Yeah. Usually the headline artist.
There's no oomph.
Is either like current, like top. Like current
Like
top of pops,
clear delineation.
or they have or they're just royalty. Like if Kanye decided to do it, he would still pull.
And then also, don't get me wrong again, because I'm a 90s kid. No doubt was amazing. But did anyone really ask for the reunion?
Nah.
Blur, also amazing. But did anyone really
didn't
ask
they chuck a
them
hissy fit when no one was like giving them the
giving them the kudos? And this is the problem with the music festivals now, where it's, if you're having to appeal to such a broad mass of people who have different tastes in music, because out of nowhere, for example, in the last couple of years as well, K-pop, like, and all of those bands from like Japan and whatnot are now coming into here too. That's catering for a different audience.
Yeah.
And then bloody in the other one, you've got your doof doof happening. Like
EDM.
I think that's fine though, no?
No, but what I'm saying is just there's so much more different types of
Genres.
music, like, and the same thing where TV, film, there's the fragmentation. Music is 100% the same now. So is there? My question is, I guess, the big acts that everyone will listen to, or has mass appeal, are they dying now? Because out of everyone, it would be Taylor Swift, Beyonce, who else we got?
No.
Like,
I don't think
you know
so.
what I'm.
I think. I mean, if The Weeknd came, he'd pull. If Drake came, it would pull. If Kanye came, it will pull. It's even now with all his like rubbish, it would still bring it. If Frank Ocean came, even like it will pull. I generally feel it's that mid tier. I really, you know why? Because like.
Wait, what do we mean with the mid tier? As in, like,
Okay,
it's not.
I'll give you a great example. Like, we love Giveon. I love Giveon, right? Like, Giveon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll give this as an example. He did it for like 5 years straight or something like that. Daniel Caesar, before he came up, he did it like 3 years straight, right? And this is before he started making his own thing. So I have a hypothesis that when these guys started dropping off, because they realized that as a financial gain, it was just expensive. They were probably losing money hauling their whole, like they weren't making enough there. So if you're not making decent money on it, then it's a PR exercise. And I think I hate calling them mid-tier, but what these artists before the superstars have realized is, instead of Coachella, because it doesn't have the pull that we used to see maybe in our social media, in our engagement, etc., we can just launch a TikTok and get equivalent, like sort of cut through there. I mean, it's a bit of a weird hypothesis, but my gut is if you had a lot more of those like really good acts, and that's not 100% right, because like a Brittany Murphy is like to me the same, right?
Brittany Howard.
But she's like she's already there, right?
Like this, and this is the thing, right? Like your mid-tier acts, like I'm looking at like the list.
Yeah, let's have a look.
This is the other thing. There's probably, again, a whole lot of artists that I don't know.
Too, yeah.
I don't know that other people love, right? And that's the reason why they're there, right? Like I'm thinking like, so I see Olivia Dean. I've heard a couple of songs from her on
she was
Spotify.
there?
She was there. But no, like she was not on the
She's not big
streaming
in America at all.
Like
so that's the other thing. But she's really good.
Like,
actually really good.
Apparently T-Pain, Fat Joe was there.
T-Pain, right?
But like that's over time.
Yeah.
Apparently Lupe Fiasco was there.
Yeah, but if they're there not for like a set. They're there for like surely 1 or 2 songs.
Maybe. But it's just that thing of maybe like I'm gonna ask a Kev. Maybe we're old.
We are old.
It's just not for us.
We may be, but numbers don't lie. This is the worst selling Coachella in a while. And again, like you don't have to be old to say that. Like if again Lana Del Rey is your leading act, like you're not attracting enough of the top acts. That's fact. If they brought in Bruno Mars with all the controversy they had, it would have sold heaps better. I'm just telling you, they're not getting the top acts, and they're definitely.
They would never put Bruno on.
I'm just saying. The example is the top acts will still pull, and how the top acts works is not only the audience, but the acts, the mid-tier acts. Heck, Bruno is doing it. Let's go. I want to be pulled part of it. That's how a fight card works. That's how all the same thing. No, it does. Works. Like you look at the top.
I get that. But then it's also in a year where a lot of music is coming out, right?
Yes.
And we'll talk about it in an upcoming episode.
Yes.
Coachella, maybe this is it. Coachella doesn't have the power that it used to have.
I was just going to add, especially because now it's become a saturation point for influencers.
Yeah.
That they're just the ones being invited over.
It's
now.
that thing now where it's not about the music anymore. It's
just
about
being
the
there.
clout,
Yeah.
and it's about the, it's a socialite event.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a matter of, okay, this is like, and I'm going off. I know we got to wrap up, but it's at the time, you aspire to go to that. There's now that changing generation where it's like, well, yeah, I'm too old for that shit now. I'm not going to do it, right? And then you've got this other generation coming in that maybe...
I would rather watch it on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. They wouldn't spend the money on it. There was a time...
I don't want to camp. What is like,
well, we don't. But
no. But if we're thinking it, there's going to be a whole lot of people.
I agree.
And it's a whole lot of money to actually come in there because trust that the price is going to surge everywhere, which comes back to this cost of living thing. It's just like, it's just not affordable and the value is not there, be it in the acts, be it in the whole weekend in itself. Heck, be it in the, like, where we're at the world at the moment, where, it doesn't feel right to, I don't know, again, not yucking people's yums, but...
What does that even
Well, I mean, otherwise we'll just find out how Coachella goes for next year.
Honestly, next year. If one of the big acts come, I'm telling you, it'll go back. Like, they just didn't have a massive headliner.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, that was Coachella talk. All right, we're going to move it on to something quite close to us, actually. If you've noticed, we've been wearing particular merch.
What's written on your shirt?
Shaniac!
And Bugaras. Because I'm sure, especially this faction of YouTube that probably follows, Watcher Entertainment, which is led by former BuzzFeed employees,
alumni,
Stephen Lim, Shane Madej, Ryan Bergara, they went through some flack over this past week, which was quite something to go through, especially as us who follow them quite closely. So just quickly going through, last Friday they announced they actually had a big countdown to this big announcement that they were going to release. And what ended up happening was this whole video of them describing that they are leaving YouTube to create their own sort of streaming platform and moving all of their content over to there.
Future
and
content, yeah.
and future content there as well that will require a subscription and subscription sort of fee of it was six American
Six
dollars.
American, 10 AUD.
Yes, if we're putting it
That's
to
on
our,
that's on a monthly basis,
Yes.
and then it's $60 with a 30% discount until the May 30th.
Yes.
Which is what going to be like $80 AUD.
basically
Rough math.
More or less.
to be able to watch all of their content ad free and support them through that. So over the weekend, they received a huge amount of backlash that included some particular points of how it was such a shock that at first it came across that they were moving all of their content onto that platform, but then it seemed that they had walked back their comments of saying that their current content on the channel would remain, that the channel would still stay up on YouTube so people could still watch that. But people had a lot more gripe with the fact that they would have to pay this monthly fee to be able to watch shows, even though their release schedule can only count for like one episode a week, right?
Yeah.
Which people felt wasn't valid enough reason for them to invest in this particular subscription fee. And on top of that, they have a Patreon service that a lot of people have subscribed to.
So let's pause on that for now, right?
Yes.
I think because a lot of events have happened since then, which we'll get into shortly. But the couple of issues here where we have, it's the brand and audience trust that has been eroded because of this decision. The business decision to actually decide to, be it for money, be it for creative license and freedom or whatnot, the decision should actually leave the platform that has made you successful in the first place.
Yes.
And then on a tangent, I guess, from the brand trust front, the parasocial aspect of this relationship where fans were absolutely tearing it up and causing a mad flurry that have now since caused this company to backtrack on their decisions, and we'll go through it quickly.
And they lost about 50,000 subscribers over that weekend.
Exactly. So maybe let's just touch base first on the idea of from a business perspective. Do we feel that was a how do we see, did they make the right call at that time? Could we understand the reasons why? Because a lot of the commentary that was online saying is, well, yeah, to your point, like all the Patreon subscribers, they've had like 15,000 Patreon subscribers. If they're paying $5 a month, you can kind of do the math of how much they're ending up getting for the whole year, which is a lot more than you think. And then you've got all the merch that they sell, obviously. And then you got the ad dollars that happen in your ads when, at
During
the pre, mid, and post, right? So the conjecture about it is like, well, why are you forcing me to spend more money for stuff that is previously free? And we've supported you in this many ways previously.
Since the beginning and whatever throughout the channel, yep.
The question I have is surely you would have thought of this stuff before making this decision and going down that road, right?
Yes.
Kev, what from your outsider perspective? Here we go.
Yeah. I was doing the maths on it. Like you say, 15,000 by 5.
Yeah, at least 5, and apparently they were saying
it's only eight. It's $8,000 a month. I think
$8,000 a month. But then apparently the $10 one is what everyone ends up getting because the value to actually.
To make it
worthwhile.
Yes.
Look, I think it's hard, but we spoke about this. The reality is I've spoken about this a ton actually. When you get an audience, any audience, and this is the reason why I don't believe in paying for Spotify, but I'm forced by this one to get a family one, is when you get 80 to 90% of value of a product, the thought of paying even $1 a month just does not resonate. And YouTube has been built off the back of this commercial model where YouTube is giving you a broadcasting license to be able to put your content, rightly or wrongly. So the challenge here is the creative mindset where in their mind, they feel they said that they wanted TV, right? Like that level of production,
Yeah.
right? So it requires an insane budget, basically, if they're going to run a studio, one that they're not getting here. And I think what happened is down the route, if you have a business run by all creatives and not like person generally looking at business and the trends and stuff like that, you can get caught in that. You're asking us, surely someone told them, but clearly not, because they didn't have someone in either their network or that said maybe this is not a good idea. Because from a business perspective, that's not necessarily how. I mean, you'd run two scenarios, and one scenario would be it can go completely bad, but they clearly didn't factor for that scenario, if that kind of made sense. So I think that's my view. The concept of wanting to monetize is fair. How they did it was completely off, because they gave no real alternative. It was an ultimatum, not a choice.
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's how it was positioned as well. Even when Steven had did his Instagram post, like when I'm replaying back all the stuff that had happened, and the little crumbs that you see, he did make a point to say, for those that have followed us up until this point, we thank you so much, and for those who choose to support us moving forward, something of the like that. It was
the
definitely
wording was very.
it was a
off
sense
tone.
of it's you can't play around with people's trust and people's belief in you.
And
Yes.
people's behavior, though. And I say that because, like, you know what's ironic? Like, when I think about the TV element, right? Like 90% of YouTube is consumed on the phone. It is, right? Like,
Yeah.
it generally is. So I don't care if you're mixing your audio for a cinema level quality, all that. Don't get me wrong, good production is good, but YouTube is the avenue that you go for, like, authentic, genuine content. And there is definitely a point where production will allow you to stand up.
Yeah.
But if you're scaling at that level and you're not willing to pay for it, then that's just, it's not the channel to do so.
It's the biggest currency when it comes to YouTube is audience, right? So if I'm looking at another example, right? So the Adjacent, Try Guys, coming from the same place with BuzzFeed, they made their own they've made their content, they got the production to a good level, but even like since that rough trot that they had with the controversy in the last couple of years, last year, they even resorted to making, like content with like phones or whatever, right? To fill up the gap. People would still follow them up until that point. And, they were, their aspiration to do TV, you have to amass the audience and amass the IP, the idea to then get to make that happen, and to get somebody on board, like the actual production, like from a TV perspective, to then, they ended up getting a show on the Food Network, right?
Yeah.
If these guys were following the same trajectory in that sense, like that's the avenue, right? Because a lot of their content, it's a lot of costs are sunk into it, because they have to go to location shoots. They're doing it at night. There is a very good high quality to it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
But ironically, a lot of the comments from the fans were like, "We love your stock
Standard, yeah.
Like quality that you were known for, and like which must kill them, to be honest."
Absolutely.
In the BuzzFeed
the fact
days,
that people are only watching for them, not just like their own chemistry, especially when it comes
the
to like
irony
Ryan
is,
and
like,
Shane.
YouTube is that sort of a channel like that. Like, if we generally wanted studio quality, we'd stick to Netflix. You want all that like, there is a blend, you can go there.
Yeah.
And there's some like home documentary guys that do amazing. Like, the production is like, this should be in CN, like this should be on TV, and that's where that line is being blurred. No, but generally, all I'm saying is, like, whether they like it or not, it's people, genuine connections to people.
You need the talent first and foremost, and like the other aspect is kind of live within your means,
Absolutely.
right? Because this is probably where their aspiration as a business to grow, to expand, to look after their stuff in the fair way and whatnot. Like, there is that balance of the creative versus the business side, right? Where, if we're thinking MVP in the middle is the way to go, because you can perfect it as much as you want. But if you don't have the people to watch it, what's the point?
Exactly. You've just blown out.
To be honest,
material.
yeah, it just screams of not having like a very business focused individual there, which is fine because they're all creatives and that's what they are. But like, if you want to grow to that next level, like, you know, Colin Samir, right? Like, there's YouTube channels dedicated to commercializing, and that's a very important bit, because if you don't have that person there, you should not be hiring another cameraman. You should actually be hiring a growth manager, whatever you want to call it,
You need proper business development people that are
to
there.
pitch to the brands that you want.
Yeah.
To do, because those brands, like in YouTube, those exist. Why do you think so many people do food, apart from the fact that people have an obsessive way of doing food? Because the brand and content integrations make sense, and it's something that anyone would naturally do. If you know what I mean, like, you don't need a degree to kind of do that and stuff like
And
that.
there's
right?
a market for them too, right? Because so two of the guys from Watcher, they do specifically ghost hunting,
Yeah.
right? There's 100% a market there for.
There's an overseas market as well.
Yeah.
You know what Mr. Beast does? He gets his YouTube videos, English ones, transcribed and revoiced in Spanish. And they do 70 times
Wow.
more. So what I'm saying is, like, they're not thinking, like, because you're stuck in this creative bubble of, I need this lens.
And
I
it
need
needs
this
to
thing.
be of this
I
value,
need
because
to
that's what success
because
looks like,
if
right?
I do that and I spend 20 grand on this camera, it's going to give me 20x growth. It's not going to happen.
It's not.
It's definitely not going to happen. Anyway.
And this is why you have to look after your fans, listen to your customers, because the uproar was insane, right?
Yes, I'll touch on what ended up happening. So during that whole weekend, it was basically social media silence from the Watcher team, which fair enough, because surely they were hitting panic stations. They had to really look at all of these reactions from their fans.
It was damage control. It was proper PR
Absolutely.
management. It was crisis management.
And so come Monday, they finally released a video, a 3-minute, 46-second video that essentially straight out the gate, they said, we messed up. And
Which is completely the right thing to have done.
yes, for them to approach. And a lot of people joking that is very reminiscent of the Try Guys video when they had to deal with their particular controversy, but wasn't caused by them, it was caused by another member. But
Yeah,
it's a different thing.
We like
Yeah.
the principles of it remain the same.
Yes.
Where it feels that what they did well is they admitted that they were wrong. They listened to the people, because they were losing. They were losing
50,000
like more than.
followers.
There was definitely more than. I'm pretty sure they
And-
lost about like 300K.
And their own Instagram accounts were being
Yeah,
affected.
like, and Patreon, they were starting to lose people as well, right? So it did come back to bite them,
Absolutely.
but the way that they handled it is probably as best as they
they
could
could
have
do.
done, because again, it comes to the people, it comes to having that trust and that authenticity, which we've seen apology videos is like the new thing now, right? You can have an ukulele, you can have like the couches
crying,
and all that
crocodile
stuff,
tears.
right? But
Yeah.
to lay out the feedback and that they've understood that, to still try to relay, and it's all about the communication as well, right? For the video that they released prior to, it was all polished again, high quality, but and we've heard it time and time again with the YouTube and how it's built upon and how it constantly changes the algorithm, so then you can't, like, the numbers that even these guys were hitting like 5 years before are completely different now, because like we're at the mercy of, like it or not, this algorithm that tells them this is what the content that people want to see.
Yeah.
It impacts their bottom line.
Yep.
So, and their operating costs and whatnot. So to even hear that little bit more in this apology video, as opposed to that message having not come through in their previous video,
Yep.
is pretty interesting, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Again, and it comes to this thing of like, you're polishing this idea, this is how you want it to look, but when you stick to the hardcore facts as to why you're trying to do that, and you're trying to persuade people like, this is the reason why, they kind of miss a step there too, right? Again, it's that thinking of, I'm just going to project this. People will buy it. It's all good. But people can see through that.
Yes, absolutely. And ultimately, the big thing to take away from that video was that now they will be releasing their future content still on YouTube, but a month later, which ultimately, like, people felt like that should have been the deal from the get-go, but it's somewhat the compromise, at least, that they've been able to make with this decision. But otherwise, we will see how things go ahead with Watcher. It was a very explosive week for them that I think they've had to deal with. And I guess the reason why we wore these shirts was just to really allude to, like, look, we're fans. And it's like, you got to listen to the fans. And especially going forward as well. But again,
do the right thing.
do the right thing.
Which is for you. Let the pre-roll play.
That's the way I support.
That's good.
And we buy their merch.
Legit,
And if they do a live show, we will come.
Well, maybe wait a little bit till you come to Australia, because
maybe that's the
figure
way.
out your budget.
Live shows, right?
Well, yeah, that's
People do that. Like experience.
Live shows, meets and greets.
Allegedly, they're in London now, and so
we'll see
we're gonna
what
find out
happens.
on social media how that goes. But yeah, that was a pretty deep topic. And all right, so now jumping, we've been a bit over for most of the topics, but that's okay because it's been pretty hardcore discussion. We're going to the biggest hard-hitting topic, actually, in terms of the U.S. government and what they've done with the TikTok bill.
I actually think this one will be quick, but
Because we should have meshed them together.
Yeah, we should. But look, I needed a break. Senate has now passed the TikTok bill. So we talked about this last year, right? So that bill got legislated. It didn't get legislated. It got
Passed.
It got passed in the House of Reps. So it needed to clear the hurdle of the Senate.
Yes.
Tick. So Joe Biden, it's definitely happening.
So ByteDance, the owner of TikTok,
Yeah.
has now 9 months to sell it before they are banned in the US.
That's correct. So obviously all the uproar. I think it's really interesting because when you go to TikTok, I love these very smart parodies of like a family, one pretending to be the US government, one pretending to be ByteDance, one pretending to be TikTok.
Yeah.
Like they're really cool interpretations of that. But yeah, like you've articulated it well. 9 months, not a lot of time. But okay, before we talk about this, there's actually something really layered in terms of how this bill got passed, right? That caught my attention as I was researching. The interesting thing is, so how the House of Reps, they need to vote for it, right? They need to vote pro or against, right? So the overwhelming majority voted for this, right? 85 to 15%, right? So vast over majority. However, so when they vote for an element, they vote for a what do we call it? A bill? It's not a bill. Amendment proposed. Let's call it a bill. When they vote for that aspect, right? Yeah, it's usually a singular topic, right?
No, but it's wait. Well, you're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this case,
It got combined.
and it got combined with amendment to Senate a $95 billion package providing aid to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and the Indo-Pacific region. So why is that a big deal? Well, hold up, because technically, aid, TikTok, they're different things, right? They're different concepts. So why is it a big deal? Well, by combining it, they basically were trying to force the hand of individuals that did not want to vote yes for the TikTok element to get pulled through there. Is it that or the other way around? Because there was some Republicans apparently were reluctant to approve more aid for Ukraine. But by putting the TikTok element there, you got to know it's a yes or a no.
Yeah, that's all it is.
They were forced to do so. So whoever did it strategically put it together to try and get it there, because we knew that there was an overwhelming majority that wanted to pass this bill. So I thought that was really interesting because whoever picked that sneaky, like they put a bill there that was about aid, and then they pushed the TikTok element there. But I think just to put it in here, we go back to what we talked about earlier in the program. Governments wanting to hold some level of control on social media, and like this is very different in that there's clearly a Chinese, like, so interestingly enough, I saw quote and unquote, like a news YouTube, which basically said that they were doing research on like TikTok.
Yeah.
And apparently, this makes actually no sense, but like I'll run it through you. TikTok was spying on users, which yes, it makes sense if you download it, because we know that like how many
They have access to the data.
microphones. Hold up. For users that actually don't download TikTok. So that then
Wait, so say for example, if you downloaded TikTok,
okay, if I downloaded TikTok or Facebook or Google or anything, and anytime I say, you know what, I'm gonna go to Hawaii, and you get served a bloody like air flight,
yeah.
they're listening to you, all right? Whether you want to agree with it or not, there. But what this researcher was saying is when they were doing research for like the government on why to like push this, individuals that had not downloaded TikTok they were still spying on it.
This is why I'm asking. So, say you downloaded TikTok. Are they playing it because they know that they would be able to track that we're a household?
I don't know
and that I haven't downloaded it.
But let's assume that that's not the case, because if you downloaded TikTok, I don't want to go down this.
Sorry, I need to understand this.
That's what I mean. Like, not all questions were answered, because the journalist asked a very smart question, which was the next question I'd ask. Then why are we pushing this anyway if they can spy on us regardless of whether we have an app or not? And the guy literally said, that's a good question. He didn't have an answer for it. But and the whole thing about this is, hold up, it's a Chinese company. All right. If it was an American company, they'd be kind of okay with it. But because this is going to a Chinese company, simply they don't trust it. And it's about countries that have basic like tensions with the US, right? If TikTok was a Russian-based company, it'd be exactly the same, right? So that's what it's about. But just to answer your question, if, for example, I didn't have TikTok, you had TikTok, and we were talking within the vicinity, you can hear me, right? Let's say, for example, we all didn't have TikTok. They're saying that there's a world where it can still track our data. Then I'm thinking, hold up, that makes no sense in the world.
That makes no sense.
But let's entertain things not making sense. Because, by the way, people that keep attacking us in the comments, when we say things, it's a counterbalance, right? Unless we specifically say I'm 100% for this or against, right? Talking about you with the Marquez Brown one. But anyway, so specifically,
Defamation.
No, definitely not. I don't agree with that. I knew you were gonna get hammered on that one because it just wasn't defamation.
No,
anyway,
I'm just.
But anyway, stirring the pot. That's good. Let's entertain that for somehow, even though it makes no sense. I'm thinking that the only way that that's possible is if you assume that TikTok.
Did somebody have it previously and they didn't remove?
They're saying no. They're saying no completely, which makes no sense. But let's just run through this like conspiracy theory rabbit hole. If you assume that maybe 70% of Gen Y have TikTok. Let's just make an assumption. Let's just make life a little
70% of Gen Z have TikTok.
Yeah, Gen Z. Whatever. Like,
that's a bit more feasible,
you
right?
get the point. The minutia is not important.
It is important. Context is important.
The concept is, if they could, because of the cross interaction between a large demographic or cohort there in terms of user browser and cookies and stuff like that, which is dying in itself, which the more and more I think about it, that there is a way of them tracking behavior. Because again, when we say tracking behavior, don't get it twisted. It's not that there's like some big brother looking at everything there, but tracking behavior is looking at the websites that you go to, how long you spend on email and stuff like that.
So they're building up some level of persona, right? Based on behaviors. And they probably would have bought data as well if we're really thinking about it.
Yeah. So look, it's happening. 9 months is not a lot. The conspiracy theorists and a lot of people could say, you know what, this is just US propaganda. It's going to be bought by one of Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, like all the big guys. It's going to conglomerate there. And if it does, because it would just make sense. Like, what is stopping, for example, what is stopping Google from buying it? They have insane amounts of money. If I was Apple, I would double, triple down on that. They don't have new products in the pipeline. The iPhones are not selling in the thing. I would go for that straight away. If I was Google, I would go that straight away, integrated in my Google platform, and then you just got like something that integrates there. I know agencies would be frothing over something like that. Simply just the integration there. And then you say, hold up, if you're as a government want censorship, these very same individuals that you don't want to have power, you have indirectly given them more power.
I guess the other angle to that as well, right? So that's the business side, right? And you know who owns
Yep.
who, like no one company should have all that data and whatnot,
Yeah.
right? On the flip side is the censorship idea and like the impact of TikTok that it can have on people, right? So the other one of the other reasons why that the government is trying to ban TikTok, and I did see this on a video, sorry I can't cite the actual name and whatnot, is one of the speakers who was saying that TikTok actually, you know, in being able to share the ideas and news of what's happening in Palestine or whatever, and it creates an uprising in people. And you know, you have these protests that are happening on the university campuses that are inciting violence and whatnot. And then you juxtapose that to like videos of these girls that are trying to do, that style of cheerleading dancing where
Yeah.
they're doing that but they're
Yeah.
protesting for Palestine.
Yes.
It's that weird thing again of like, do you actually know? Do you actually understand how social media works?
Is that why
That's one of the reasons that was cited, right? And so it's connecting this to another thing that has happened to the U.S. very recently. The Supreme Court has abolished the right to mass protest in 3 U.S. states: Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. All in light of, with Black Lives Matter and surely a whole lot of
What's
other
a mass
things that have
protest? Surely there's a number tied to that, right?
Oh,
100. There would be, right? Like,
Yeah,
what's it-
yeah.
Like if 3 of us go, it's not a mass protest.
no.
No.
Basically,
Like at least
There's a number.
tens of
yeah, yeah.
thousands.
like after a lot of things that have happened with Black Lives Matter, the unnecessary shootings, like the police shooting down racially profiled people, individuals and
brutality,
whatnot.
yeah.
And then there's been a whole lot of conjecture as well about all the riots that are happening for Palestine and how the U.S. government is in light of, I guess, giving we call it humanitarian aid to
Yep.
Israel, right?
Yep.
In particular, kind of
Which
just
includes
feels,
a bit of Gaza.
well, it would, yeah. But like that, it doesn't come out like that, right?
Oh well, people can take whatever they want and run it through the algorithm,
Yeah.
say one bit, put a nice song on it, and like get 10, 15 seconds of fame. Proliferation of social media, censorship, non-censorship, freedom of speech is basically single-handedly the biggest paradigm shift in this current century. It really is, because again, once we open that black box, we can't close it. We actually can't close it now. And I think what the governments are feeling is a sense of like
lack of control.
And for a government leader, it must suck for and that's why when you attack Elon Musk, you can't attack X. You attack the owner of X. You attack Mark Zuckerberg
There
and
has to
stuff
be
like
the
that.
face,
The
like,
face
yeah.
of it. But the irony is it's built by, they are the face of it and they're the heads and directions of it. But it's built by a lot of individuals, and a lot of individuals within these parliaments and governments of the world have big stakes in it as well. And now it's the control, because a lot of people don't trust the governments. They just don't. They hate it. Even if governments are saying something right, out of like just of where the whole world is at with inflation, the economy. Every major country is going through either inflation, deflation. If you're like, nothing is good is happening. And all of it gets in China. They're going down the barrel of an aging economy, which is actually putting not the whole livelihood in extinction, but it's actually making them uncompetitive because they don't have young people to work in these jobs and stuff like that. And who initiated that? The government. I'm not attacking anything, but what I'm saying is there's utmost distrust in governments across the board. There's no winning there. So when governments try and censorship thing there, even though the motivation, and I believe that there are certain people that within it that believe generally that what they're doing is the right thing, the Australian, the logic that they're saying is right. Like, there's nothing incorrect about it. But understand the other perspective. Have you interviewed the Australian public to ask them, do I want you to do this level of censorship?
Yeah.
Because you're getting well, I actually want you to stop fucking rising the interest rates. Or I want you to do this. Or I want you to do that. I don't care, Albanese, about you calling him. Like, why are you wasting your breath on that? Figure out your own shit. Like, we've got
We
bigger
don't
fish
need
to
more
fry.
beef, you know.
We've got bigger fish
Yeah.
to fry than this, right? This is the news, all right? That you don't want to put it on Channel 9 News. That's good. That's why I watch Channel 9 News, and I know I get a doctrinated version of the news, and then I'll go and supplement it to where according to me. According to me, I was thinking that the one way you could do this, like, is actually like when you go to Twitter for the first time. There are two versions of Twitter. I click on a version if I don't want to see don't want to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what Instagram's doing now. You know that, right?
I click on raw version, or unfiltered, and this way I decide what version of the world that I want to see. Because in real life, that's what happens. People talk to the same people. It's an echo chamber usually. Or when you go to people's YouTube channels, it's a curated view of what they want, and they stay there. They don't often venture out of it. So what's the difference with news?
It's tough stuff, guys.
Probably one more thing to add to it, right? You got to think about, like, with these governments and how being possibly so out of touch with what the general public want. Throwing a thought out there. Should we, like, put a cap on, like, how old?
I knew. I was actually thinking, it's not a cap on how old. It's a cap on how many young people should be in it.
Yeah, like there has to be a diversity ratio,
I
right?
agree.
Where you're like...
The irony is, like, when we had, like, a Vivek, right? Like, bring it back to Vivek.
R.I.P. Vivek 2024.
Oh, he's going to be the
Vivek watch.
candidate, just wherever. It's great.
No, for the campaign. The views, you know?
The views.
Come back.
I don't think that's the worst idea.
Yeah.
All our brightest, our youngest and brightest, because there's oldest and brightest too. Not older, but you get what I'm saying.
Across the spectrum of age, the brightest.
I don't know. I don't know anyone in our social group that grows up saying, "I want to be a politician." Why would I want to fucking be a politician? Makes no sense. Like, I don't get paid well. I get smashed by the thing.
It's too hard.
So all these amazing.
You have all these great ideas,
all these amazing initiatives. All these amazing, I never lived through this, which means that I'm not going to let any biases. I'm going to go in, probably get knocked back 5 times. That doesn't enter a spectrum of life, which is just so important because these individuals decide the future of our country.
Whoever is in power in the government will have a say, will have the impact, like a direct impact on the future generations. So wouldn't you want somebody, I'm pretty sure we mentioned this in some other podcast, where wouldn't you want a diverse and
a representation
of these upcoming generations to have a say in this, in these matters.
Absolutely.
Again, like credentials is another thing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But it feels like there needs to be some sort of a panel that they refer to.
When you're looking at, like, the Senate inquiries, right? Which is just fucking hilarious. I saw the one, like, it's a massacre, right? Like, you go in to get, like, whipped publicly, right? And you think, like, again, I'm not going to pick on the ages, but there is a massive age difference there. I would often wonder if in these Senate grillings, they had a younger individual there, would it be exactly the same, or would they try and craft a very different framing of argument, or just thought you can still smash someone if that's the intention?
But don't be rude about it.
Well,
but you know how abrasive how it comes across.
You remember when we had Samit and I talked about this when they had the initial grilling of the TikTok guy. I can't remember, but they didn't even know the guy was from Singapore, was it, or something like that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that a Gen Y or Gen Z would know that, but I'm like, I'd wager decent money that they'd probably be able to research that before knowing that, and at least catch on the first time and not keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Well, maybe AI might be used in government hearings moving forward to get a shortcut of the briefings.
It's a good idea.
We'll see.
I think it's a good idea, but unfortunately,
have a shot if you were waiting for the mention of AI in our episode. There we go.
Hey.
Anyway,
all right.
That was good debate.
There's
good
been
conjecture.
A lot of discussions this episode, guys. All right, that's been episode 38. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, comment on the sections, but like constructive criticism, guys. Remember, we're just looking at both sides of particular arguments. You know,
it's all about learning.
Don't be too reactive. Just like see both sides, but of course, unless we have specified that we're leaning towards a more sensible way and whatnot.
We're Coachella for the news.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. For every genre of people. But yeah, otherwise, have a good one, guys.
See ya.
Take care.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.